Hi, I'm Sheridan Webb from the Training Designers Club, and unusually, I am doing a little bit of a pre session to a lunch and learn for the simple reason that we have got so much to cover in an hour and a half, and I don't want us to run out of time. So, fingers crossed, we can do this sort of initial 10-15 minutes in advance of the session, and then we can hit the ground running with all that juicy practical stuff that I know you are very, very much interested in. So we will go through the session of the day on the actual session. However, I thought it was worthwhile just running through some of the core principles of artificial intelligence as I understand them at this point. And it is obviously something that is changing and developing all the time. It's incredibly fast, the pace of change in relation to this. But I just wanted to go through one or two little bits to kind of set the scene for our session. So it's about using AI to help design live training workshops, because a lot of the things I've seen out there, and there is a lot out there, doesn't seem to tailor for the facilitator. Anything I've seen to do with training design seems to be much more to do with instructional designers actually coming up with content, as opposed to designing live workshops for facilitation. So that is very much where my focus is going to be when we have our session. And from what I have discovered, and I just want to reiterate really from the offset, I am not an expert in AI. I have been playing with it a lot in the last few weeks. I am still learning. But what I have discovered is that it can assist with designing live training workshops, but it cannot do it on its own. So at this moment in time, we are not out of a job. But it can be an incredibly useful assistant for us if we know how to use it and when to use it and how to get the best out of it, which is something that we will be just dipping our toe into really in only 90 minutes. There's only so much we can do, but we are going to be keeping it practical, we are going to be focused, and you are going to go away with things that you will be able to do as a result of that session and start using AI straight away. Lots more to do beyond that session, of course. So let's just have a look at what AI can do. It can suggest content and activities. I think that's the majority of what's out there. If you do a general search, that's what it will come up with. It's pretty easy to get it to write learning objectives and outcomes for you. I'll show you how to do that on the session. And it can suggest a structure and flow, and it can adapt it to your own preference as well. I've had lots of fun swapping and changing things with AI. It's pretty good at providing general examples as long as you ask it a good enough question. And it can help to create activities, discussion points, and tests for you to include in your session. Again, it very much depends on what you put into it. If rubbish in, rubbish out. But like any tool, the more we use it, the more skilled we become at knowing how to get the best out of it. So if you are at the start of your AI learning journey, I will hopefully be able to accelerate that a little bit by condensing some of the learning that I've done over the last month, 6 weeks, into a 90-minute session for you. So that's what it can do. Well, what can't it do? Let's put your mind at rest. Um, just some of the things: it cannot replace human creativity and empathy. And I don't think it can judge timings well. When you're writing a live session, I always think, you haven't accounted for how people need to settle, how we have to put people in and out of rooms. And that's something that only the experienced facilitator will be able to account for. Obviously, it can't adjust to the unique needs of each individual participant. That is something that we can do to a certain extent in the design stage, but is very much done by the facilitator with some kind of suggestions and maybe some forewarning from the designer. It can't check whether its content is correct. And I think that is massive, because we look at what it comes up with, and you'll see this in the session. You think, wow, that's amazing. It's come up with all that fantastic content. but we do have to sense check it because AI draws on what's on the internet. And we all know there's a lot of nonsense on the internet. There's stuff that's popular but not true, there's stuff that's out of date. We have to check it. So if you are a subject matter expert, you know, chat gpt, artificial intelligence, is absolutely not going to put you out of a job. um, you still have to retain overall control. It's still you designing the content. Linked to that, it cannot have an original idea because it's drawing from stuff that already exists. But what I have found is that it often sparks a thought that I wouldn't have otherwise had, because it will throw something in there that I wasn't expecting. So that's good from that point of view. It can help to kickstart your own thinking. It can struggle to write detailed case studies, exercise briefs, and role plays, in my experience. And bearing in mind, I am still learning how to do this. In 6 months' time, I might say, do you know what? It's a breeze. You just have to learn to ask it in a very specific way. But by the time you've got it to create the real detailed role plays, cases, or whatever, in the exact same way that you want it would have been just as quick to write it yourself. So in those situations, what I would do is use artificial intelligence, chat GPT, to come up with the basic scenario, and then I would use that to design my own scenarios, my own role plays. But it does give you a really good starting point. It can't create and cross-reference the various materials required. When I write a session plan, I do like to reference which handout we're using, which page of the workbook we're on, which slide we're on. That is something that you're still going to have to do. Obviously, it can't provide real-time feedback and support. So again, I think something that we can do as training designers is that we can preempt what might happen in the training room. So we can put into our session notes, if X, then Y. If everyone has done this before, here's another alternative. Here are some simple follow-up questions if this is new to people. Here are some more challenging ones if you sense that they've done this before. So again, that comes down to our experience and our expertise. And it can't account for cultural sensitivities, stakeholder expectations, any of those internal politics that we have to kind of weave into the session plan. And that goes, for the culture and the values of the organization as well. All those subtleties, we still need to be able to weave those in, using the structure, using the content that artificial intelligence comes up with as a framework or a starting point. So my opinion at this moment in time is that AI can aid the designing of workshop materials, but it cannot replace the human touch in engaging and connecting with learners. And I think that it is very much something that we need to harness and we need to take advantage of, because it's going to make our lives easier. It really is going to do the heavy lifting for us if we let it. That said, it is a tool, and tools are only helpful to those who already know what to do. So if you've never designed training before, you may get the impression that AI is able to design training for you, but you don't really know how to judge what it's coming up with. You don't know if that's going to work. You don't know all the different little subtleties that we use as training designers to make sure that we are using accelerated learning principles, that we're making it flow, that we're making it tailored and pitched at the right level. So if you have never designed training before, by all means come along to this session. You will get value from it, but I do think that you need to make sure that you've got a really robust process to hang your training design onto as well. So there are online courses that you can do, provided by the Training Designers Club, which you might find useful just to make sure that you are asking AI to do the right things in the right way, at the right time, and in the right places. So with that, I hope that gives you a nice background as to our Lunch and Learn session. It is very much a practical session. We aren't discussing the ethics, whether we should be using AI, where it might all go, the governance of it. We don't have time for that. We are just going to be showing you what we've learned so far and how you can take those exact same steps to let AI do the heavy lifting for you. So with that, I will leave you and I will see you on our live session.